in the middle of eating my Previnex bar. It's all good.
I'll join you.
It's fine.
Yes. Yum, yum, yum.
I used to communicate with myself just eating. That's how I used to communicate, through eating. That's what I used to do. Just fat kid. That's literally, I didn't know my skills. So if I didn't
Eat your feelings.
yeah, that's all. If I didn't know how to tell somebody something, I just go right to the fridge. Like literally, I don't know if you still do it, but like,
I do.
yeah, like I used to go to my parents' old house, like 40 years they were in this house.
Yeah.
I would go straight to the fridge, Vanessa. I wasn't even hungry, nothing. It was just that feeling of like, there's my friend, gotta go say hi to my friend. And my mom, my mom, she's skinny now. She had the worst shit in her fridge.
I'm telling you.
Didn't want anything in there.
I mean, I was a picky eater, but the stuff in there, like, I would still eat it. You still eat your feelings.
Yeah.
And I still eat my feelings.
Yeah.
I just know enough to go, oh, okay.
Smart.
Let me just call it and let me just deal. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do now.
It's true.
Ugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on that topic, communication and style of communication. Now that we're not going to eat our feelings.
That's really, really, I would say 80% of it, honestly.
What? Let's unpack this.
Is the style. Like your tone, your body language, how you coming across, Forget the like vocabulary is important too, but like everything else that comes with it is is really the communication. You gotta take it into account.
I wish I could watch myself sometimes, like I look at those reality stars and I'm like, wow, they can like see their behavior and stuff, and then it's too late and then they're mocked and all that. But sometimes, have you ever had this where you look at a person, whether they're young, whatever, and you watch them and you're like, wow, they got a lot to work on within themselves. Like just the way they come in, communications, to like, just like,
yeah.
Oh, and I hope that's never been me, but I'm sure that's been me many times where people are like,
oh yeah.
Ooh.
Well, we're aging ourselves here, but like,
all good. I like age. We're not dead.
no, fully. I'm not ashamed at all. It's more like, oh, you're there. I'm so happy I'm not there anymore.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine? Like me at 20 was a lot.
You were fun though. You were fun.
Yeah, I mean, we both were fun. We had a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
It just was. Imagine looking at us at that point going like, oh man, you're going through that right now. And then all the stuff that now that we know what it is, I'm looking at my niece going through something similar and, discovering herself and the world. And I'm just like, oh,
I read something, me with my quotes and reading and all that, but it was like 3 words that you would say to your 15-year-old self.
oh God.
I was like, damn.
What would I say?
Mine was like, slow down, please. But then that's what makes me, though, at the same, you know what I mean? We're just different levels of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
3 words to say to my 15-year-old self.
I wouldn't have listened anyway.
No.
Uh-oh.
No. How weird. What was I doing at 15? That was, what, 9th grade?
Yeah. At 15.
8th grade? 9th grade?
Yeah, around that.
Yeah.
Ninth
and
grade.
then...
Yeah, 9th grade, I think.
Oh,
we can come back to that. I know, right?
Totally. That's hard. That's like that's a project.
So, let's bring this out, because with communication being our topic, and people have been asking about it, and our styles are different, as we discussed before, like in different episodes that we've had about how our communication style is different. And some people tend to go with you more with like bottling up and like, how do you get that out? And then mine, some people are like me, where how do you like tone it and hone it in? You know what I mean? Because there has to be a balance with speaking to everybody. This is interesting. This is an interesting quote. But with communication, I feel like you have to have compassion.
Yes.
Would you agree? Like if you want to because I feel like people talk in order to get something. Like we don't talk just to talk. I feel like it's whether it's affirmation, whether it's attention, whether it's compassion, forgiveness, whatever it is. So tell me what you think about this. Compassionate people ask for what they need. They say no when they need to. And when they say yes, they mean it. They're compassionate because their boundaries keep them out of resentment. Now, that might be more of a boundaries one.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to communicate in order what you need. And then if that person doesn't hear you, that's when the boundaries have to be set up.
Absolutely.
So I think communication, before we get into boundaries for the next, I think we should do boundaries for the next episode. But going into this one, how do you begin the communication so you don't have to set, you should always have boundaries of sorts for yourself. But however, I feel like some people need much tighter boundaries than others.
Well, okay. Let me start. I know, like, in terms of like tone is a huge thing for me with communication.
Me too. I hear
because that conveys all the emotional and, you know, subtext behind everything you're saying, right? Especially when you have crazy dynamics, like with parents or with friends or with lovers or, you know, whatever. So, and for me, I know my learning, I can come off real strong.
You know, you do. Like, when you're done, where it's like, oh, we're going to leave the room now. Yeah. But I feel like you don't come off that way to start. Like, that person must not have heard you. And you had to be like, I have to say it again and again.
Or I just come off, and I know, especially young me, came off, there was a lot of fight, a lot of anger, a lot of like, need to prove myself, need to, you know, be heard. And it was just like putting it out there, and it's like coming in hot always, right? Without any kind of listening, without any, even to myself. So I wasn't really aware or connected to how I was coming across. So my tone was, you know, it was probably not necessarily representative of really who I necessarily truly was, you know, but what I was trying to kind of pretend I was, or put up a front as if that's what I was, you know? And I think when you're young and you're finding your levels and you're finding out who you are and all that, that's what happens, right? But now in terms of tone and everything, like, I still have problems with that, and I guess maybe that has to do with boundaries. It's like, because I like to speak so plainly, just so I know what I'm saying, where I'm at, I need to be better about taking into account the fact that what you just said, the fact that I'm trying to just get across actually to the person. Because if I come in too strong, if I come in this way, it just lands nowhere, and then we're both at a loss.
What's taught you how to balance the communication? Like, because you're a producer. Well, you're a producer. So how has it been, like, dealing with, it's a heavy, like, you've dealt with a lot of men. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so how is that for you coming off in, like, your communication with, in a work environment that's like producing and that incredibly like difficult as it is. And then you have fools that don't listen to you and things like, how do you pick and like, how is tone for you on the set and dealing with all of that? Is it the same as your personal, or? Well,
you know, in terms of work and stuff like that, there's a professional line,
right?
And you know, it's professional, and you know what's right and how you handle it. So it's about conveying that and always representing that in terms of how you like to handle yourself professionally, and you kind of got to keep that equal and level and be really secure with that.
So give us an example. So like somebody that is trying to work on communication skills, and let's say somebody's not hearing you and you're on set. So how do you deal with it?
Well, you do. Part of professionalism is also boundaries and just conveying what is and what is not, right? It gets crazy when it's kind of gray, and that's where the human element comes in. So say somebody comes, they're complaining, and, you know, they want, a lot of times I deal with a lot of budget stuff. So if you are, you know, they need more because they feel like they need more equipment, you know, to get what they need, on the screen. But that just doesn't work with the budget. So I have to negotiate that. And in many cases with men, they like to talk louder. They like to pull the experience card in terms of, well, I'm the one on set. You know, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's a lot of those different type of plays. And it's a matter of going, okay, you just have to represent yourself still well. I mean, I used to want to meet them on the same volume, but really that doesn't work. You learn as you get older and more experienced. Volume doesn't do anything. You just wait, you listen. Listening is part of learning also. So you just have to hear it all out, have them let it out, because that's, a lot of times people just want to be heard, like you said, and they just want to get what they have to say out. So being in a leadership position, you go, okay, let me hear everything.
And reminding yourself you're in a leadership position.
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
So then you have to, and then it gives you the time as you listen, actively listen, to think through the different problem scenarios and honestly solutions to the issues being presented. Because in many cases it could be valid. It's just the way that they're bringing the issue to you, or the way that they're saying the stuff to you, might get you, might trigger other things. But again, you got to pull back to the professional line right there and go, okay, well, this is what it is. So how can we meet in the middle? How can we, and you appeal to their state of, or their the logic, the craftiness. Because honestly, creativity comes in many forms, and creativity can come in how you resourcefully resolve a budget issue, an equipment issue, or, well, I can't use, this pencil, but we can use this pencil. It'll kind of look like this. So it's about that type of deal. And if you can talk to them on that level, right? Obviously know what you're talking about. And always be respectful. Yeah. And if in many cases, like if somebody is coming at you with just utter disrespect, then that's where the boundaries come into play. And you go, okay, well, I won't be talked to that way. So why don't you take a break, take your 5 minutes, go back there and collect yourself, because that's not how you handle this in this space. And you can say that. Yeah,
as you should.
You're allowed to say that.
It's usually not about you.
No.
Because I feel like when people project like that, it's not even about, like, Lefty's barking outside, and that's not about us. He don't care. But yeah, it's like, but he's communicating. Everybody communicates differently. You know what I mean? Like, he's little and he's like, I want in right now. And I'm like, okay. But no, it's interesting to me about communication of, like, I've had to learn that you can't get personal when trying to get a point across, because then you lose. Yeah. Like you can't just cut below the belt, because words are bullets. That's what I found. And
yes,
then
they are.
Once people are off, and then, sometimes then they'll bring it back and they'll be like, well, you said this. And then they victimize what you say because you said something that was too personal or too mean or any of that, when you could just take a breath and go, okay, I'm going to communicate this right now to you. Let me communicate as best as I know how, as opposed to just like.
And I find you stick to the facts.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you don't know if somebody's coming at you from a bad day, what happened at home, especially at work. Stick to the facts, stick to the matter at hand. Do not collapse all the different other things into what you're projecting into what the issue could possibly be. Just stick to what is.
And also, go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, please.
But on the reverse, when you are at home and all those personal things come into play, and it is personal, my question to you is, how do you handle that? It's really hard for me to not, especially when you're uber triggered. How do you not just implode? You know what I mean? And then explode all over that person or that argument or that house or that space or whatever. How do you rein it in and just, manage your feelings?
It's a day by day.
Yeah.
But it's like what you were saying. I literally just have to sit back and I have to go, would I speak to my grandmother like this? Would I because with husbands and all that, like, it's easy to just be like, why didn't you do the dishes? Like, what's your problem? And coming at it, right? I think to myself, I'm like, okay, who am I dealing with right now? What's the deal? And then I move my body. Like, I've always been about that. Like, and then I also make sure that I'm in a place where I'm not standing, like, I look at my body, because 65% of body language. And then I also, with communication, it's feeling like you're heard as well.
Yes.
I also stop talking to people when I feel like their body language is just shut off. Why? Why waste your energy talking to someone that's not listening? You ever done that before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What about people that don't, wait, talk to me for a second. You know you can't say, but what about the people where you know they're not flipping listening to you and that they just want to have the next comment back? Like, you know those people?
100%. And what I do now is I just don't. I actually remove them. Then that thing is just toxic right there. And if you don't see any, like for me, if I don't see any avenue around it and it's never going to change, and I check in with myself to see if I'm even willing to even put in the work to maybe possibly see if that can change, then it's a wrap. Then it's a wrap, and it's a matter of, and that I believe in situational support. So where it's food or people or things around you, if you're not functioning right, or if a relationship isn't going well, and there's no kind of support in that scenario, like you want to stop snacking. So instead of buying, and it takes work. It's not like easy and you can just, put your mind to it. It takes work. No, I cannot buy those chips. No, I cannot buy those.
So that's situational support.
I will buy the banana. That's and I will put the banana in front of me instead of the candy. And that's situational support. No, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I can't think straight right now. I can't focus on any one thing. Look around your space. Is it messy? Is that not helping you? Maybe you just need to take a day and clean up. Or you just need to get rid of a bunch of, maybe, and that's situational support.
That's a great tip.
Right?
Yeah.
Like what if, it's just that I can never get it with this person we are just not jiving. Every time I've tried all these different ways and it's just not clicking. Maybe you and that person just don't need to be in each other's lives anymore. That's how you outgrow friends. That's how you outgrow, it's not supporting you to be your best. And that's what I've learned a lot recently, where I'm like, oh, okay, this is how I need to Marie Kondo myself.
Yeah.
But it's difficult when it comes to family, and that's where it becomes really difficult.
I had a client that she would get on the phone every Sunday at 1 p.m. with her mom for an hour and a half, like an hour and a half. Her mom lived away and she moved away from her mom because the relationship was so toxic.
Yeah.
And literally she could not lose weight because she would eat mindlessly while she was talking to her mom. And then afterward, it would cause her to eat because of how much she couldn't say on the conversation, the calls. And I got her for 6 months to call her mom once a month. And she had to have that communication with her mom and just say, hey, listen, this is just the way it's going to be. She dropped so much weight. I think at one point it was like 35 pounds, like no joke. And it was just phenomenal that one little thing like that, we were adding it up. It was literally like 3,600 calories between the hour and a half to 2 hours before, middle, and after the conversation.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you believe that?
That's huge.
That's like a pound just in itself. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's 2 days worth.
But she had to communicate. Yeah. She had to communicate to her mom and say, hey, and she didn't have to say, she just had to communicate it and just say, hey, before she was going to put on the boundaries and tell her that these are my boundaries, she just had to say, I'm just going to communicate to you once a month I need to speak to you, or once every 2 weeks. And, it gradually came back when she got ownership of it.
Yeah.
But she was also finding too that her husband, she communicated with her husband differently once she got off the phone with her mom. So it's a toxic, I don't know about you, but when people's energy come in the room, I just know how to communicate in so many levels. I know how, when I watch a person just come in a room and try to take up the air all in the room, I just get real slow talking.
Yep.
And did you hear what I say? As opposed to what you were saying before, as opposed to communicating what's it getting louder with the
fighting.
person?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I just get dark and ominous. I'm just because how much energy are you going to put to communication that's just going to go around and around and around?
Right. But see okay, that's so funny because what I'll do is I'll just shut down.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, that's not healthy. It's not good.
No, but I'm saying I don't even know how to not shut the fuck up sometimes.
No, same here. But
that's why you're a dichotomy. Wait, tell me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I found is in order to and maybe this is a transition step for me, but like in order to not or be defensive or act out or react versus respond in the whole thing, I am like, okay, right now I just need to
So what is
shut down, like stop myself from reacting or responding initially in that negative pattern that I did. So like now I've trained myself. I'll just stop. I will listen. Or walk away, take space, something like that, or just let whatever rock and just shut down. And now I'm trying to figure out how to healthily respond to any kind of toxicity or in like a in a communication, conflict. I'm trying to respond in a healthy way look at me, I'm trying to find my words. In a healthy way.
It's great. We're unpacking it.
Yeah. That is going to help the scenario and move forward. That's going to reach the other person. That's going to make us both grow and feel better about the whole thing. But I have, because my own issues come into play there too. So it's like, all right, hold on. Let me fight my own reactions to stuff so that I don't just come out punching.
So what you do is you quiet the reaction. Is that what you? Because I think maybe I have a different way of thinking that you shut down. Because like, okay, let me ask you a question. Yeah. When someone's talking at you and they just go on and on, those people that can just like talk and talk and talk like at you. How do you shut the fuck up? How do you do? Because I can't do that. I can do it if I'm on the phone with somebody and then I'll mute them and I'll be like, "That's not true." That's like I need to talk back. I've learned that like I need to shut up. But how do you deal with that?
Well, it's weird because
I don't know how to do that.
Between I have to listen to this. So it's me like listening, right? So I'm listening, and then because like you said, I can't stand the people that are just sitting there waiting to talk and not listening at all.
Worst.
So they're the worst. So I'll sit there and I'll listen. I'll give you your space. If I disagree, and it's a matter of just containing my emotions so that I can make my points and stay on topic. But I lose it when my emotions all of a sudden start to unravel because I'm too triggered and I'm too pissed or I'm too, all that kind of thing. So it's like, well, so now I've practiced to just stop. Just stop right now. Just listen. Just take it in and then act later. Respond later, right? Because that's a more positive way of just coming back to it. But what I'm finding is when it's done, it's done. And I'm like, oh, and then you just don't want to come back to it.
Do you put a timer on? Because I feel like my husband and I sometimes, I feel like I have to put a timer.
I let things play out.
Okay. But then how do you get out of your own, I guess it's me. How do I get out of my own ego where I'm like, nope, I need to make this point, and nope, I need to make this one,
and
I'm
nope, still there. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's okay. This is life. Me too. I'm trying to figure it out too.
Or you forget at a certain point because you get so angry.
Right.
Or so over it.
Right.
Or so just done.
Right.
That you're like, all right, it's a wrap. And then it's just, you've cut off all communication altogether. So, still in between, still figuring it out. But, how do you, that's the thing, finding how to get past that. What are the steps to? And so I know you've told me before, you were like, no, you have to have the conversation. You have to ask for it. You come into a table, you come to a neutral space. You find the right words. You agree to listen to each other fairly and stuff, whether that happens or not. I get that. It's about how do you arrive at that table without all your fears and aggressions and all that. And that's the work.
You can look in the mirror too. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I will look at the mirror and I will say a full monologue. And I will go nasty what I truly think, people write things down and then burn it. But I will literally do a monologue in the mirror to that person. And then once I feel like I get it out and I get that monologue out, then I'll go to the person and say, when you have a second, can you talk? Because I'm clear. And then once they come to me on their terms, so it's not just like me harassing them and being like, here we go, because they're not going to want to listen. Then once they come to me, what I found is I go, because I'm so clear.
Sure.
I'll go, hey.
Yeah.
And then it's not as nasty because I've said all the things that no one should say ever to a person. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I go, okay, do you have anything to say? And then we can go back and forth. But it's literally about timing too. And that's another thing I've learned. You know, like, do I have to say do the dishes right away? Do I have I have this thing, I don't know about you. I have this thing where I learned it from my mama, but I need the kitchen clean before I go to bed. That's just me. It's for my psyche. I don't have kids yet. Okay. So mind you, I don't have a full house of people. It's just my husband and I, but like me, as much as I can, if there's a dish or two, I get it. But I try to wake up to a nice kitchen because I'm just like, okay. And so it's been hard in the beginning of communicating, like, I need this for me. Right, I need this for us, for our sanity. Because how do you communicate that? You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's vulnerability with communication. That's another thing, is being vulnerable with a person that you don't want to be vulnerable with because they don't get you half the time.
Or you're not in the mood to be vulnerable. You're not in the mood to be... to share. You just want to be left alone. Like, I'm an only child. I like having my own space.
Okay. See, you're the only child. So you got to, exactly. Me, I had to. Everybody had to fight and they had to fight.
Well, you had there are three of you and your dad and your mom. Ooh.
Oh my God. 80% hard of hearing, Dad. Okay. Yes. So, oh my God. Yeah, that's real. But it's funny how things will trigger. Like, what triggers you? Like, I don't know. I think with communicating, and there's people now that I don't even talk to anymore. And I don't even, is that bad, Vanessa? I don't even say goodbye to them anymore. I just don't even pick up the phone and deal with them anymore. Is that bad? I think we were talking about that with our other show.
Yeah, you've just kind of grown past them and everything like that. And then friendships go through an ebb and flow. And right now, everyone's so busy. There's so many things that everybody's doing all at once that it's just I don't have time for... the deeper the friendships it's so strange. It's cutthroat when you say it that way, but if the friendship was light to begin with, it ain't gonna last the you know what I mean? Yeah. The depth of busyness that you are going through in that day or in that time period or whatever. It's the deep friendships that are there forever that you're like, I don't need to pretend, I don't need to put on a face, I don't need to put on a show. You just get me so I can be plain. Exactly. And that's always what's honestly stood the test of time with all that kind of stuff.
I completely agree. Yeah. Okay, what do you think about this one? Hold on. Next one. We were raised in LA. Children who grew up in homes where appearance was everything become adults who are performing. Isn't that interesting?
So true.
With communication. I grew up in I didn't grow up.
Because then you learn what's important and whether that is or not. If appearance is only important, all the insides, all the grounded stuff is just not.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I know a lot of people, growing up, there was tons of kids that literally had these big houses and mansions and their parents were so wealthy, but there was no communicating with the family. They'd each have an intercom, and then you look at them now. Oh yeah. Each one had an intercom in their rooms. They never came down to dinner. They would eat separately, but the family is so broken. And there's a lot of them that they're broken because there was no communicating. When I was young, my mom was like, our house is smaller than, most of these houses because I want you kids to fight it out and work it out and communicate. Sure. Not in a room where you have your own wing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because separation, I feel really harms communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially when you're in a family. So.
And it's hard when you have parents that aren't good communicators either.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. See, what's interesting is, and this is another thing is, I don't know about you, but my mom it took me a long time to go, did I take on her communication style? Because she comes from an alcoholic background. She's had so much hard stuff in her life that she just goes. And I'm like, is that really my temperament? Because I'm not really like that. I've adapted to that.
Sure. Oh, big time. I have definitely taken on a lot of my parents' different mannerisms. And I think everybody has that. And you think it's yours, but it's not. And so I know for the last 2 years, really, it's me is that me or is that my mom? Is that me or is that my dad? Where did I get that from?
Was that having a baby that got you to think, or have you always been thinking about that?
Well, I'm totally into self-care and self, I started reading Brene Brown and trying to get into like my authentic self and my like who I am really. And, you know, as you get older, you run into behaviors and scenarios with people in your relationships that where you're like, all right, am I wrong here? Am I not? How do I make this better? I'm finding that I'm not happy about certain things. And how, you know, the only thing you can control is yourself. So what am I doing that's not helping this situation? And so I started on that road about a couple of years ago, and it's been hard and rough, but at the same time, really rewarding because I feel closer to who I am, better at conveying that and feeling more comfortable, you know, and grounded. But it is still so hard to just, you know, I don't know, just communicate still with, especially like the parents, because those are the patterns you're trying to break, you know?
Yeah.
And so those are going to be your biggest triggers. And then how all that dominoes into all the rest of your life, like from, you know, husband, brother, sister, friend, you know, all of it.
Workplace environment. Like, I'm the oldest and my dad's 80% hard of hearing. My mom was busy with everybody. And so I think why I'm a behavior specialist is because I had to find out from my brothers. I always was like taking care of things, and the way I was raised and the communication style, I was like, okay, my mom always would have us leap to the ends of the earth of communication. So then I'm like, let's hone it back down a little bit and let me not communicate that way because it's not being taken in correctly.
Yes.
And and then what's the point? And then I'm wasting my breath. But my mom, because of all the trauma she's had, she communicates very differently than me, you know, very differently. Yeah. And what do you have to say? See, even animals. See, I love animals too because they look, he's communicating in his own way. He needs attention.
Oh, 100%.
All the time.
But yeah, we're taking up too much time apparently.
What?
But we're taking up too much time apparently.
Oh, according to Lefty?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we're not giving you enough attention? Oh, excuse me.
But fear plays into all of that, right? Like whose fears are they your fears or are they their fears? Like why are you reacting that way? You know, why am I having so much fear of conflict or whatever? Is that my fear or is that my mother's fear or my father's fear? You know, it's just that type of stuff.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that you feel like you want to try to communicate? Like how many tries can you give with a person that's not your family?
Yeah.
Like until you just go, I wish you the best. Like that your communication styles are just different. You can't see eye to eye on things.
That one, I don't know. Depending on who the family member is,
or let's say it's not family.
Yeah.
Let's say it's just somebody like a friend of a friend that you have to be around always. Like how do you deal with a friend of a friend that's around a whole bunch and that you just can't deal with them? Do you just like don't talk to them? What do you
mean have to be around?
You ever have the friends where... Because
in the whole circumstantial support thing, the situational support, I'd be like, you have to take the person out. Like at this point, you're going to be like, if there's too much conflict, it's not helping. Maybe it's best to just take the toxicity out so that this can be lifted. Have you
and your husband ever had an issue like where you're like, we have to take a person, like we have to both agree? Like, did you guys communicate to like take a person? Okay. And you guys have to like team up with that, right?
Well, we have to be coming to agreement.
Yeah.
And
that's a communication in itself.
Big time. And then how do you approach it? How do you say, hey,
right,
this is not working for us? But even then, even just friends. I remember in school, college, you know who I'm talking about. There was a friend, and it just turned out that she was it was just anything and everything she touched was just a nightmare. It would just turn bad right away, and it was horrible. So many friend breakups to come back together. It was just kind of like cyclical, right? To the point that by the time we had graduated, and she was like, I'm so sorry. Another sorry cycle. Another like, you know, I would really love to make this up to you. Let's just be friends again. You know, she could, I mean, it could be anything from a disastrous, relationship, and it was just too much work to help to pull her out, too much neediness, too much. You're always, those friends that are always negative, pulling. That when that was the final conversation, I was like, you know what, I'm good. I wish you well. I have nothing but, respect, but I'm good with this. I need to do me and focus on me. And it was just one of those removals of that type of toxicity, I remember, where it was clearly defined and it was good.
And how was the reaction? Was it worse or was it better than you thought? Because that's the fear factor of like...
Well, you know what the great thing about it was? It didn't matter what she felt or thought or anything.
Yeah.
Before I cared because she was my friend.
Right.
But at that point, it was like, I'm
different.
You deal with your feelings about all this or whatever, but this is how I feel and this is what I need and I'm good. And it was just very clean.
Yeah.
So however she felt or how she dealt with it, I don't know. And it did matter.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's the biggest tip I think we could give people is like make however long it takes. Cause I know a lot of people, whether in your relationship or not, whatever your friends say, whatever, as long as you get good with your clarity and you get fed up. Cause I know some people in relationships that it takes them 3 years in order to get out of it or.
Yeah. Everybody in their time.
Everybody or friendships or whatever.
Yeah.
But once you know, you're done, you're fed up, you tried to communicate, you tried to do everything you could, then that's when the guilt and the shame and all of that doesn't matter. Yeah. That's when the indifference comes in and you're like, I love you from afar. But however, you know what else I'm learning too with communication is they say anything before you say but doesn't really matter. So it's kind of like, I really like you, I really care about you. But, exactly.
I get that.
See? And I think there's something to that. It's like ice in the cake. So I keep saying, however, you know what I mean? I really, and think about the verbiage.
That's good. Yeah. You do have to think about verbiage. And that's really part of communication too. Once you get all the emotional and all that kind of stuff that informs it, vocabulary is so key. I'm trying to stop using the word trying.
Oh, yeah, that's what you said before. Okay, so what do you use instead?
Well, it's not even trying. It's about doing. Just taking it out.
Taking the word out completely.
That's what I'm trying to do.
There you go.
No, that's what I am doing.
There you go. Be a verb.
And that goes both ways in terms of positive or taking accountability or all that kind of stuff. It could really, it's huge, It's hard.
It is, yeah. And also, another thing that I say a lot that I need to stop saying is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Why do I do that? Like, if I communicate well enough, then that person should know what
you hear what I'm saying. Did I say that right?
It's
Am I clear on that one?
Right? Did you get it? Did you get it? Yeah. If they didn't get it, then, in the body language, again, going back to it. So I think good tip would be, right, going back to what we were saying with tips is watch people's body language. That's 65%.
And yours too.
And
how you're receiving it.
1,000%. No pointing fingers. And you were saying.
And no cutting off.
Yes, the energy, like crossing your arms and all of that. That's true too.
Yeah.
And then the body language, and then also you and I were both saying that we love to cuss. What I've learned though is when I'm trying to communicate and get my point across,
cursing does not
taking
help.
the F-bombs out, taking the shits out, because I love cussing when I'm trying to explain things like in a very unhostile.
Yes.
But when it's hostile and then you say, fuck that. Then you lose your power, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I could see that. And I'm totally guilty of that.
Me too.
So that's why I need to.
All day.
I get it. It's just so hard. That's
no, we
hard.
get it. Yeah. But we're not in it. I know.
Because sometimes fuck you is really how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Or, that's just really how you feel. And you just can't say it. You have to find other ways. And honestly, I guess, and that's the work. But when you find the other way, that's where the healing and the steps to coming across and making it better happen.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just that little bit still that makes you want to, I know.
That's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
And also because I'm hypoglycemic, I make sure before I start a real conversation.
Food.
I have to have a snack because
sure.
because then I start losing my train of thought. Then I'm all crazy. No. And then I'm complaining like lefty over here. So yeah. Okay. So with communication styles, going back to it, before you set the boundaries, because we're going to talk about boundaries a lot in our next episode, but communication style, like look at people's and your own physicality.
Yeah.
Take a moment before you react or talk. And then also if you have to, and both of you cannot get a word in edgewise, because that's how I am with some people, is set the timer for 5 minutes. And if you need a monologue, fine, but you got to give the other person respect back.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And have them and give them and really listen when they have the space.
Agreed.
You know, and if you're not able to do that, you can't do it, then you need to take a walk.
Yeah.
You need to, air out your thoughts. You need to do something else, or just so that aggression, that energy is like dissipated so that you can come at a neutral level to address it. Yeah. That's easier said than done for sure.
Yeah.
Totally understand that.
And then also like know people's different communication styles so that you don't get so upset and disappointed at the end. Because I was having this conversation because, I have a friend, and every time she has a friend, and every time I get to her house, the friend will be there, and she knows this friend and I do not get along, but I want to put on a happy face. I can do that out of respect for my friend's friend.
Absolutely.
But you need to communicate to me that she's going to be at the house so that it prepares me to not be a bitch to this girl. And also, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I can respect space, but please communicate to me and let me know. Some people are, okay, well, I want to ask you guys out there. We want to ask you, like, what kind of communicator are you? Are you on a need to know basis? Are you a crisis communicator? Are you an oversharer communicator? Like, when it comes to my feelings, I overshare like crazy, where people are like, you don't have to explain your whole life story by being upset about something. I'm like, but everybody needs to know. Like, I don't tell other people's stuff, but I overshare my own.
Yes.
But however, then there's some people that don't share anything, and then they come off like assholes, and they just communicate need to know basis. So also I think it's important too, to get to know, maybe ask people that question, like, what kind of communicator are you, so that you can learn what each other are, so that, again, like that incident with my friend, just let me know she's going to be at the house.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anything else. And then I can make the decision
whether
to come
you
over.
Want to go or not. Yeah, exactly.
And not disrespect, you know what I mean? And be a total bitch, because this girl's awful, Vanessa.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And see, and sometimes I get upset when it's common sense to me.
Okay, me too. But what is that anymore?
But when it doesn't, exactly. But when it doesn't hit or come across as common sense to the next person, I'm like, well, I can't. You're smart. You get it. You expect it from other people. So why all of a sudden is it just completely gone? Like, you're giving me the simple face. Mm-hmm. And I just can't. I can't.
That's where the tools come in. So again, find out what kind of communicator that person is, because then I take it personally, where I'm just like, wait a second,
and then
I
it's
get
the
mean,
domino of all the
and then
other
I check
stuff.
out. Yeah. So that's important to know with that. But those are some good tips. Yeah,
they are good tips. And then also, too, you can't communicate with just everybody. I'm a picker and chooser.
Smart.
I have my people I talk to, and that's that.
Smart. Yep.
Example.
And who to trust.
Yes, exactly. Who to trust. And that's something you'll learn along the way as you get older. So
There's nothing worse than like telling someone something. And it was so funny with me. I keep so many people's things, and it's none of my business. So I just forget it. It's not. And I also believe, like, when a couple closes the door, it's their business. Like, I can come to them, they can come to me all day as friends, and I'll listen. I'm not there to change unless something needs to, like, abuse or something, which I'm not in.
Yeah.
But it always blows my mind. I think I lost my train of thought. But it always blows my mind when. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay.
But, however, I'm not going to say but. However, I don't know what I was saying.
That's all right. That's all right.
What was I saying?
I think we got it.
Okay.
I think we're on it.
Okay. But yeah, communication style. I think that's
Good stuff.
just working on that. So that was a good communication. So let us know how you communicate, everybody.
Yeah. Let us know how you deal with certain type of like conflicts. And if you got any advice, love to hear it.
Yes, please.
No one has this down perfect at all.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I was going to say. I hate when I pretend that I don't don't know what the person's told me, and then they communicate to their husband, or they're like, well, Shanna, I already told you that. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I seem like I'm the idiot, but I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Whatever. I'll just have Alzheimer's for now. But yeah. But anyway, but don't over communicate. There you go. Don't over communicate other people's things, but learn how to communicate your own. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Or at least communicate to yourself even, so that you're clear. At least you're clear with yourself.
Period.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, girl. Yeah, girl.
Another one down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boundaries is going to be our next one because I got a lot to say about that.
Important tool.
You know, I got like 10 quotes in my phone already from that.
I love it. I love them.
All right, love you, girl.
Love you.